Hello, we're continuing with the Math 104 Gateway questions here. This is question number 105 out of the pool of questions 96 to 105. We are going to simplify within its domain the expression x plus h divided by x plus h plus 1 minus x divided by x plus 1. So step number one is to combine this expression into one fraction. We're going to do that by finding the least common denominator. And as it turns out, if you think of these as linear terms, they're distinct linear terms, so their least common denominator is just going to be their product. So if we write down the denominator, it will just be the product of those two denominators. So x plus h plus 1 times x plus 1. Okay, now we turn our attention to the numerator. And in order to find the numerator, we'll take the original expression here and multiply it by our new denominator. So we've got x plus h over x plus h plus 1 minus x over x plus 1. And we're going to multiply that now by x plus h plus 1 times x plus 1. Okay? So distributing these terms in here, the first term is going to be x plus h times x plus 1. And the reason behind that is if you have x plus h plus 1 in the numerator and x plus h plus 1 in the denominator, those two terms will cancel, leaving us with x plus h times x plus 1. And for the second term, something similar happens. You've got x plus 1 in the numerator and x plus 1 in the denominator, so those two terms will cancel, leaving us with minus from that negative there, x and x plus h plus 1. Okay, so now what we need to do is distribute within this and distribute the x here and then gather our common terms, like terms. So what happens here is if you use the FOIL method, we're going to do first, which will give us x squared. The outer term gives us plus x. The inner term gives us plus xh. And the last term gives us plus h. Okay, so that was all of that. And now this term is actually easier to deal with. You just distribute the minus x to each term. So we've got minus x squared, minus xh, and minus x. Okay, now let's go through and figure out what our common terms are. We've got an x squared here and a minus x squared there, so those will wind up canceling. We've got x's here and a minus x here. We've got an xh here and a minus xh here. And then we've just got this h left over, and he's actually the only guy that's going to survive all of this. Okay, so this pops out down here. After all is said and done, we're just left with h. So now that we have the numerator and the denominator, let's write down what our expression is. We have the numerator, which is h, and the denominator is x plus h plus 1 times x plus 1. And actually, this is your final answer, and this is the way that you will write it in your Gateway exam.